Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named IlCitron in the AITA subreddit. The post is titled, "I divorced my husband for being infertile. I have been with my husband for 6 years, married for 3. We both come from family-oriented backgrounds and have always wanted kids. We're financially stable and can provide a child an amazing life. We officially started trying for a baby in early 2023. After months of no success, I started to get worried. I wanted to get our fertility checked then, but he said I was being a worrywart and suggested we wait a year of trying before doing any testing. That year was up in February, so I scheduled our testing then. The results shocked us. We were both ignorant and assumed I was the one with the issue if there was one. I mainly see women talking about being infertile, so it didn't cross our minds that it could be something else. The doctor called us and on one of the worst days of our lives told us that my husband has a condition called azoospermia, meaning he has no sperm. In his case, they said that surgery to extract sperm directly from his testicle doesn't seem likely to yield high results, but it wouldn't hurt to try. My husband and I were devastated. I wanted us to explore all routes, him taking the medication and getting the surgery, and if that fails, either a sperm donor or adoption. I understand this is life-changing news, especially for my husband, but since February, he has refused to do anything about it. He said he doesn't want to take medication or get the surgery if it will be a waste like the doctor thinks. He said using a sperm donor makes him feel emasculated and he doesn't want to raise my child with another man's DNA. He also said adoption isn't something he's ever wanted. I have no one to talk to about this in real life since he doesn't want his diagnosis out there. It's been affecting me really badly mentally. There's nothing more I want than to be a mom. I've begged him to go to therapy and he refuses, saying he accepts it and I'm the one who isn't. Every time I try to start a conversation, he shuts it down by saying that we will never have a child together. He will never be able to be a real dad, so I should move on. I know what I want for myself, motherhood. I am willing to go down any avenue to become a mother, but he doesn't want to. I realized this past summer that he's right. We will never have a child together. I had one final conversation with him since he avoids the topic like the plague. Last night I sat him down and said I empathize with him about this life-changing diagnosis and that he doesn't want to get the surgery, which I respect, or use a donor or adopt. But I told him I want to be a mom and I'm not getting any younger. If he isn't willing to explore any avenue or go to fertility therapy, then I want a divorce. He broke down saying he can't believe I would be willing to walk away from our marriage over this. He said that if the shoe were on the other foot, he would never leave me for being infertile. He called me a horrible person and said I'm punishing him for something he can't control. I told him it's not because he's infertile, I can work with that, but because he's refusing to pursue any route to become a parent, knowing that's something we both wanted. He said I never loved him, otherwise I would never contemplate divorce over kids that don't exist yet. He cried about it afterward and refused to let me console him. I feel so horrible, but what else can I do? Continue begging him to change his mind or speak to a professional. He only wants biological kids and refuses to do the surgery because it's too much prep. Am I the asshole? 8 months later, OP gave us an update. I posted this last year and received so much amazing feedback that genuinely changed my life. Since no one in my personal life knew what was going on, being able to talk about it and get so much incredible advice was great. A lot of people in the comments opened my eyes to the possibility that he was refusing the surgery because that would be the final nail in the coffin. If it failed, that would be the end, and that could be why he was refusing to do anything. I took some time after posting that to do some self-reflection on the whole scenario and to approach the situation differently. We spoke about it extensively, and I told him how I completely understand his fears about not wanting to do the surgery, but I really wanted us to try a fertility therapist. I suggested we could just do one session. It didn't have to be a deep commitment. He agreed, and that therapy session went amazingly. We both spoke separately and then together, and we ended up doing 5 sessions overall. You guys were right, my husband was scared to try anything because he didn't want it to fail. He was pre-rejecting the rejection. He opened up to me about many fears and anxieties related to his diagnosis. We deeply connected afterward and got even closer as a couple. One day, I saw vitamins on his dresser and realized he had been taking them without even telling me. I was so happy. We did another sperm analysis and they found 2 sperm. We were overjoyed. Then, to my complete and utter surprise, my husband forwarded me an email. He had scheduled a consultation for the micro-TIS-A surgery in December. It went well and he was approved for surgery this February. We went in with low expectations, hoping to be happy with the progress he'd made, but they were able to retrieve 3 sperm. My husband and I were ecstatic and couldn't stop crying. Everything went well at his 2-week checkup. Now we're in the process of IVF. I started taking medication for my egg retrieval right after his surgery, and so far I have 12 eggs. Last month we found out we have 2 embryos, both healthy, 1 boy and 1 girl. Our implantation date for our daughter was May 1st, and I tested positive a few days ago. We are so happy. I am incredibly grateful that we were able to get through this bump in the road. This has been amazing. I am so happy my husband's fear and my sadness in response to his fear were something we were able to overcome. We have both extensively apologized to each other, him for shutting down and wanting to give up, and me for not being more understanding of that life-changing news. Thank you all again for all the advice you gave me. V1 Rojan said, "No more Reddit today. I am happy to go out on a high note." This gave me cheesy smiles, and I am so happy for them both. Necrot said, "Good update. I wish male infertility were better understood and treated by doctors. In December 20th, 23, I had practically no sperm. By May, I had an extremely high count. In August, I am having my daughter. Human chorionic gonadotropin and human menopausal gonadotropin are very powerful compounds and much less invasive than surgery." Albino Wombat said, "So many men are resistant to testing, even as their wives or partners go through extensive testing themselves. A friend of mine's husband did the same thing. He refused to get tested for a year, insisted he was fine, and then, of course, he was the one with fertility issues. Thankfully, they got through it and were able to get pregnant." This second post was made in the same subreddit by a user named Fluffy Half. The post is titled, "I'm mad that my husband thinks I tricked him with our child's birth certificate. I want to give some backstory to explain where I am coming from and why this situation is so hurtful for me. My husband and I come from similar backgrounds. Our families lived paycheck to paycheck and not many people went to college. We both have degrees and make significantly more than the rest of our respective families. When we got married, I already owned a small house and had a car. My husband, however, had a lot of debt and poor credit. It wasn't his fault. He had significant student loans and often helped family members financially. He also has ADHD and had mishandled some bills. I was understanding of his situation, but I was also anxious to help him become debt-free so we could have kids without such burdens. He was making $80K and I was making $100K. He moved in with me and we split expenses 50-50, except he didn't have to pay any rent. I fully covered the mortgage and home insurance since he's not on the deed, and I also paid extra toward his debt so he could pay it off early. His car loan is in my name and I cover half of that as well. I work in IT technical support and got an opportunity to take a job that required 50% travel but paid much more. We decided together that I'd do this job for a few years to significantly build our savings and pay off a good portion of the debt. I did this job for a little over 2 years until I got pregnant, then took a lower paying job that doesn't require travel. The travel job paid more, but it was very hard on me. I traveled to remote small towns where big warehouses and data centers are located, and the job was physically demanding, pulling cables, moving equipment, working in very cold conditions. I was miserable and ended up with some back problems, but it was a sacrifice for our family. When I was 8 months pregnant, my husband asked for a paternity test. It came out of nowhere, and I asked if he didn't trust me. He said he did, but because I traveled so much, he just needed assurance for his peace of mind. He said his family and friends had asked how he could be sure of the pregnancy when I had been away from home so many nights. It really broke my heart. I had done so much for him, didn't try to protect my assets or money, and yet he treated me like this. I got very emotional and cried, so he stopped pressuring me then. Now our son is 3 months old and he's back at it again. He insists that I have the paternity test done and says he won't sign the birth certificate otherwise. I told him his name is already on the birth certificate because we are married and I completed the paperwork before we were discharged from the hospital. He didn't realize that would be the case and is furious at me thinking I tricked him. So here I am, stuck married to a man who not only doesn't love me or trust me, but is acting like an idiot. His family is calling me and pressuring me to let him do the test. My family is offended on my behalf, but some mutual friends say a test is not a big deal. But to me, it feels like such a slap in the face after all I've done for him. Am I wrong for how I'm feeling? Update. In my previous post here, I asked about how to deal with my husband wanting a paternity test. We did the test and got the expected results. He wanted to get one that has legal validity, not a home test. It was a lot more expensive and he paid for it. We had to use the agency to swab samples and maintain a chain of custody. I was surprised and bothered that he had this planned, but he covered the high price and it would be in my interest to have a clear, indisputable legal trail. So we went and did that. He has been over the moon happy since I agreed to do this, and I resent his happiness. He got the sexually transmitted infection panel done and that was clean too. He was surprised by my request, but didn't argue about it. He said it was just a test, no big deal. He was a lot more weirded out about a post-nuptial agreement and flat out refused to cooperate there. I gave up on that because I consulted a lawyer and I can't get much from that anyway. Whatever I have spent on him and his debt is gone and I can't expect anything back. And we are in a community property state. We argued a lot about separating finances, with him accusing me of trying to control him using money. He pointed out that we were a couple of years away from him becoming debt-free, and if I leave it all on him, then it will take him 5 or more years. He still does not understand how his showing a lack of trust in me is comparable. He kept arguing that if he were the one with more money, he would have spent it on me, and for me to use this now makes me a bad partner. He came around and agreed to contribute more to bills after seeing how much my family has turned cold towards him. I am close to my family and they had loved him, but this has made them upset at him. My little sister was outright rude to him, which really got to him. He is the middle child and was frequently teased and bullied by his siblings. My sister was the only relative who loved him like an older brother and doted on him. My words and arguments didn't move him, but he got upset about her icing him out. So now he will be paying for his own car, contributing to insurance, and covering his debt by himself. Still no rent because he simply can't afford it. I wasn't going to ask him to stop supporting his parents, and after all that, there's nothing in his bucket. I wasn't thinking about divorce when I wrote the post, and I still don't want it. But I feel like I am falling out of love with this man. It feels like the scales have fallen from my eyes and all his faults that I had minimized before stand out glaringly. My mother is fully on my side, but she has advised me not to make any quick decisions. I don't know what I'm going to do. He's trying to be helpful and a good partner, but it feels like an act. 198.9 said, "What an ass. They had to do 2 exams. What was the point? What does he expect to change?" I understand wanting to do a legal one, but it just adds to the insult, like he still doesn't trust her. I think he wants out of this marriage but still needs the money. He cares more about OP's sister than his own wife. For me, that means he is no longer married. He is living with a roommate who can pay rent. There is no love. To this shadow, Fax Binky said, "Yeah, the guy is an idiot. OP was clearly committed to this guy, investing money, time, and energy into their family. It drives me mad when men say they think everyone should get a paternity test or that women shouldn't be insulted by it. If someone accuses me of cheating, especially at such a vulnerable time, I would be furious and lose any love for that person. There is no love without trust." I Am the Knight said, "I wonder what exactly OP's husband's friends said to him to make him doubt paternity or why. Whether she traveled for work or not, that is a huge accusation to levy and is not a good sign regarding the people he hangs out with if they did not have a very good reason, and it does not seem like they did. Either way, chalk up another relationship broken by paternal insecurity." This third post was made in the same subreddit by a user named Feeling Camp. The post is titled, "I stopped my boyfriend's proposal at our best friend's wedding. I, F26, and my boyfriend M25 attended a mutual friend's wedding. They are very close friends to us and brought my boyfriend and me together. My boyfriend and I are approaching our 3-year anniversary and things were getting pretty serious, enough that I very much wanted to marry him. He is sweet, chatty, typically considerate, and empathetic. He is the person who I thought was the first to show me what a truly healthy and compassionate relationship was like. He is very serious about us too. We have had long talks about marriage and it seemed we were in agreement with no formal declaration. We had even gotten as far as looking at rings. So the chance of a proposal was more of a when, not if. A few weeks before the wedding, we and the engaged couple at the time were hanging out. The topic of weddings was very prevalent, and my boyfriend cracked a joke about proposing at our friend's wedding. The to-be groom joked back and said, "That would be funny as hell." This was followed by the to-be bride and me both shutting it down, trying to be serious, but also not thinking he was serious. He was. During the reception, everyone had made their speeches and people were getting their food. While our table was waiting, my boyfriend went up to the DJ and after, they played our favorite song to scream sing in the car together, "Story of My Life" by One Direction. I looked at him smiling and he was looking around. All of a sudden, he grabbed a fork, stood up, and began clanging on a glass. Immediately, the whole dining room looked over. I stood up and whispered the words, "Not right now." His face dropped and he yelled a mix of, "I'm sorry, I was just joking." After he sat back down, I said verbatim, "Let them have their moment. Let's make this our own." He wouldn't even look at me. When it was time to get our food, he immediately went toward the exit. I followed and tried to catch up to him but couldn't find him. I texted him twice and called him a couple of times but got no answer, so I went back to the reception. After not hearing from him for about an hour and a half, he returned, sat down, and didn't even look at me. The rest of the night was terrible. He looked like his dog had just died and I was trying to make the best out of the night but felt like I was just in his shadow. I was preparing for a breakdown or maybe a fight in the car, but the only thing he said was, "I don't want to talk about it right now." The drive was just quiet and awkward. He sent me a long text about how hard it was to get the ring, how he felt rejected by his closest person, and that I embarrassed him. I tried to explain that it was not that I didn't want to marry him. It was our best friend's wedding and they deserved their moment, that we should create our own and not piggyback off theirs. He got offended and said that if I wanted to marry him, I wouldn't have stopped his proposal in front of everybody. This situation perplexes me. I have never seen the appeal of proposing at someone else's wedding and tried to handle the situation in a way that I felt was calm and chill. But he is very adamant that I ruined the proposal, made him look like an asshole, and thus I am the asshole. Am I missing something? Should I admit I was wrong and have just let his proposal go at our friend's wedding? Update. Hi all, this is an update from a post I made 2 days ago. You can see that post here. I responded to a few comments, but before proceeding with our conversation, I read almost every comment hoping to gain new perspectives and see the situation I presented from a different light. After I got home from the wedding, my boyfriend and I texted back and forth. After he went to bed, I made my post because I absolutely felt like an asshole. I was second guessing everything and thought the night would have gone better if I had just let him do his thing. After seeing the responses to my post, I am more solidified that I made the right decision. Yes, the night was ruined, but I feel more comfortable with my life moving forward. I gave my boyfriend and myself a day to think about this and come back with clearer heads. That was yesterday. I took a lot of people's advice and tried to reflect on whether this behavior was a grand showing of any smaller reaction. The stonewalling isn't super new. In fights at the start of our relationship, he would get quiet and make a small showing of secluding himself. I would counter this by giving my boyfriend his space and telling him that moving forward, he could just say he didn't have the words to talk about it and we could reconvene when we were ready to talk. This worked for us. It gave him time to choose his words and we'd have a good discussion about what went wrong and how we could fix it moving forward. I didn't think that he was overtly trying to make me feel worse by the silent treatment back then. However, ignoring me for the rest of our time at the wedding hurt so much. Not even saying I just need space right now and rejecting to hold my hand by pulling away felt like he was pseudo-counter rejecting me. This was a first. I felt like he was trying to make me feel worse through his lack of communication. That's all I noticed. I've had a partner be verbally abusive to me before, and another who wasn't willing to talk about things they did wrong, refusing to take any blame. My boyfriend hasn't done any of that. I'm not saying I recognize all patterns of abuse, but I'd say I'm versed in a few. There's also been no real history of me catering to him constantly as others were asking. If either person had strong feelings one way or another in different scenarios, we'd often be fine with that person getting their way. Otherwise, if we both didn't care all that much, he loves to use a wheel-spinning website to make decisions, and I think it's cute. We met earlier today, he came over and we sat in my living room, he broke down, he vehemently apologized and said he felt like an asshole. He said he had been reflecting all of yesterday and talking to his dad about the situation. His dad got mad at him and talked him off his ego crash. His words, not mine. He had already sent a message to our friends now flying to their honeymoon in Western Europe, apologizing for making their most important day about him and for not properly celebrating them. I asked why he neglected our conversation from months before. He said that the groom and their group of friends had egged him on in private, since not to propose at the wedding but to do it soon. He didn't originally plan on doing it at the wedding. He's had the ring with him for about a month, never had any real plan, and wanted it to just be spontaneous. He told me he got caught up in the atmosphere of the wedding, saw his best friend with his girl, and couldn't stop picturing us in the same scenario. His urge overran his common sense, and he made a choice he ultimately wishes he could take back. It very much spiraled from there. I noted that while his heart was in the right place, that doesn't excuse the turmoil he put me through afterward. I expressed to him that ignoring me really hurt me, that him saying my rejection of his proposal was the reason for his embarrassment and shutdown was unfair, especially since we had already established for him not to do that. He accepted this and continued to apologize, admitting it was very unfair of him and that he should have handled his emotions and embarrassment better, especially toward me. We had a lull in our conversation after he asked, "Where do we go from here?" At this point, I didn't want to just return to normal, a day where I expressed to him that I felt the prettiest in a long time, expected us to have enormous fun and watch our best friends have their moment to shine, turned into a day where I was crying in my room reading comments about how I should break up with him. I genuinely thought I was the asshole who should have just bitten the bullet and accepted a proposal in a way that I and others thought wasn't okay. I told him that if we were to move forward, he needed to seek a therapist to help him manage his emotions, not only from this, but other signs that he may have a panic disorder. My mom works for a mental health clinic and has offered resources before. I said that I needed time to rebuild my trust in him. He understood and is going to seek mental health resources through my mom's clinic. Until then, we'll be on a week or so break with an open channel of communication. He's going to find appropriate channels to better himself, and I'm going to take myself on a mini vacation after the emotional roller coaster that was this weekend. We did talk about what each other's ideal proposal was, something we should have talked about before the trigger was even pulled on it. I said that I didn't care for anything fancy, I just prefer it not to be public. He said that he wanted to make a grand showing of love to me and didn't care where or how. He asked if it was okay to have friends and family present or if that broke my public rule. I said that was fine and was happy with the communicative compromise. I also stated that I didn't want to be proposed to for a while so that we could let this situation rest and figure ourselves out from here. He accepted this. Something I thought was really sweet that I wanted to mention was that before he left, he said, "I do think I owe you some dancing." And so we slow danced in my living room for about a half hour until he left. A small and romantic action, probably to earn brownie points, but the conversation did reassure me that he's willing to try and be better. He recognized he was in the wrong and that a joyful day was robbed by pride and not rejection. This was about as ideal of an outcome as I'd hoped. Thank you all for taking time out of your days to reply and bring me back to earth. Thank you to those who messaged me in private to make sure I was okay or to give input. While the future is still obscure, it's a little clearer than it was a couple of days ago. I have a clearer understanding now of what I want and what's healthy. Moving forward, I will do every ounce of weighing before I enter what should be the most important commitment you can make to a person you love, and I'll keep a more careful eye on his behaviors and how he may react to adverse situations. I hope the best for you all, as many have for me. Ziggy Buddy Emmy said, humans will make mistakes. He made a bad couple of choices on an emotionally charged night and hopefully will now take the steps he needs to correct them. Not the worst boyfriend or proposal we have seen here by far. Prancing Red Pony said, I know in theory and on paper, needing another person to tell you you're wrong is definitely a red flag, but the reality isn't black and white, and if someone has, for example, anxiety or something similar they haven't addressed so far, they can get twisted up in such thoughts far beyond what is normal. What is so important in such a situation is how they deal with the next situation. Do they always need another person chipping in before they accept the validity of their partner's feelings? Or will they go to therapy, work on their issues, and have an open conversation the next time? Many things can happen in the rush of an emotional moment that are problematic, but not too bad as a one-off human error. It's the patterns that make it problematic. One single one-off issue can be an honest mistake and usually isn't abuse. But if it's a pattern, and especially when it's about consent, it's really problematic. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, Gamersubs. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.